let's talk about visual design. So in the previous topics, I covered off information design and interaction design. Well, the visual design is the third and final stage of the design process. It's where everything comes to life and determines the look and feel of your website. Imagine your web project. You've done your research, you've talked to your stakeholders and the business, you've talked to your users, you've even started the design phase where you've started with low fidelity wireframes and refined those to high fidelity wireframes and prototype. You now need to bring life to the design. Let's take the house analogy as an example. So the architect has put a bit of a blueprint together, has decided where the rooms are going to go, what appliances they will use, for example in the kitchen, what sort of dials they will use for light switches, what door handles they will use to open up doors. Now it's about deciding, well, what's the fridge going to look like? What colour is the room? What colour will the benchtop be in the kitchen? This is very similar to the visual design stage of a web project. These are some of the reasons why you would conduct visual design in your project. Well, one of the reasons, as I've mentioned before, is to bring the interaction design and information design together. The second reason is about providing visual cues. Remember, your mock-ups are often black and white or don't have any colours. Colours will help the user notice certain features and functionalities such as a button on the design. It's about creating a mood and experience. End of the day, your company or your client has a certain brand and a feel and a mood, and it's important to do the visual design to bring that mood out into the website. Another reason is usability. Remember, visual design is more than just making the designs pretty. If you get the visual design wrong, you will impact the way the user uses the website. So it's important to make sure that when you are doing visual design, you have usability in the back of your mind. And lastly, it's about getting sign-off. Let's be honest, if you were paying for your website, would you give money for the website to be built based on just paper mock-ups? You wouldn't. So visual design is in effect the last design phase where the client gets to really see what the website's going to look like. I want to talk to you about a couple of more important points. Remember, even though visual design comes at the end of the design phase, doesn't mean you're limited by what you've been given from a wireframe perspective. Visual design does allow you to think outside the square a little bit and modify the prototypes or the wireframes you've been given. End of the day, it's about exploring some alternatives to make the design come to life. However, talking from experience, there's been many times when the mock-ups and the prototypes have been validated with users and the usability has been effective and they work well. Yet when the visual designer has come and produced the visual design over the top, it's actually introduced some usability issues. So it's really important when you are doing visual design and coming up with different alternatives to consider still validating those designs with your users just to make sure you haven't affected the usability of the design. Now let's talk some techniques. One of the techniques is conceptualization. Another one is mood boards. One of the other artifacts that often get produced in the visual design phase is a style guide and also pattern libraries. So what do I mean by these techniques? Well, in the next topic, I'll talk about conceptualization in more detail, but it's about producing a couple of alternative designs and running them past the stakeholders to make sure they have a direction in mind. Mood boards, it's about exploring the mood. Often your stakeholders or your organization will use adjectives like fresh, dynamic, and new, but these are subjective. So by producing a mood board, getting examples of what you mean by or what you understand to be fresh, dynamic, new, then allows you to have a conversation and get the design brief right before you explore the actual concepts. Style guide is a very important artifact that comes towards the end of the visual design stage. It's about producing a document that outlines every style that's used on every feature of the design. If it's a button, there might be 3 stages of a button, maybe a default stage, maybe a stage when the user hovers over it, and maybe a stage when the user clicks on it. All these 3 stages of a single button needs to be documented. And finally, pattern libraries. It's about helping the developers who will code the website to better understand the patterns. So for example, a list will always look like this. A carousel of a website might look like this. Every time icons appear, they might look like this. It's about communicating your designs to the other people in your project that will produce the final look and feel and the actual working website to make sure the design is fit and correct based on your vision. So this is the end of the topic. I hope now you understand and appreciate the importance of visual design as the third and final stage of the design process. In the next topic, I'm going to talk to you about conceptualization as one of the techniques.